Hi, so nice to meet you. My name is Giovanni Lorenzo, and today I'd like to talk to you guys about the MLB Hall of Fame and how an accused PED user named Barry Bonds fits into the entire situation. So, I personally believe that MLB players with a steroid past, specifically Barry Bonds, should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I also realize each case is different, each scenario is different, so I believe that you have to use a case-by-case approach when analyzing those types of situations because not everyone and not everything happens in the same way. The Hall of Fame, in the Hall of Fame, only the best can get in there, and I do believe that Barry Bonds is one of, if not the best to ever play the game, and I think that throughout my presentation I will show you that his career shows it, his statistics show it, and so does his legacy. It shows it as well. Throughout his career, he was a very controversial player and character, and it's still talked about to this day. And I believe that this is relevant because as of 2017, there were two accused PED users that they had been accused throughout the entirety of their career that just got let into the Hall of Fame, and I believe that Barry Bonds was a lot better than them. But when you're dealing with situations like that, you can't pick and choose what people to let in. It's either you can't let any of them in or you have to let them all in, especially if they're deserving of it. So some of the points that I want to talk about throughout my presentation are I wanted to give you guys some facts about the MLB Hall of Fame. I want to give you guys some of the credentials that Barry Bonds has throughout his career so that you can see how he was one of the best. The average baseball fan knows who Babe Ruth is. He was one of the greatest to ever play. So I want to compare Barry Bonds' stats to his stats, as you'll see that they're very similar and they're both very talented and great players. Another reason I believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame is that there's no proven evidence that he had ever used performance-enhancing drugs. He also has better statistics than a lot of current Hall of Famers, as you'll see. And just as I said previously, other players that have been accused of using performance-enhancing drugs that were not at his level of play have already been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So some facts about the Hall of Fame. The first election occurred in 1936, but it did not officially open. The museum did not officially open until June 12th of 1939. The founder of the museum, he goes by the name Stephen Carlton Clark. The museum itself is located in Cooperstown, New York, and it's made up of 333 members. And according to the National Baseball Hall of Fame website, those 333 members are made up of 235 former MLB baseball players, 35 former Negro League players, 31 former executives, 22 former managers, and 10 former umpires. To get into the Hall of Fame, a council of about 100 people, or a little bit over 100, made up of anywhere from baseball writers to players to former players to managers to general managers. They have to vote, and for you to be able to get in, you have to get 75% of the vote. So that's the minimum that you need to get in. So some facts about Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was an outfielder, and he played in the major leagues from 1986 until 2007, so his career spanned over a total of 21 seasons. He played 7 seasons for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and his last 14 seasons were for the San Francisco Giants. He is a 14-time All-Star, a 7-time NL MVP, an 8-time Gold Glove Award winner. So a Gold Glove there's 2 leagues in the Major League Baseball, the American League and the National League, and for each league, the player that performed the best defensively with the least amount of errors at each position gets what they call the Golden Glove Award. And so he won that 8 times. He was also a 2-time National League batting champion and home run leader. And he holds the single season home run record, which I believe he set in 2003, which still stands to this day, at 73 home runs, and he is the all-time home run leader with 762 home runs. So comparing Babe Ruth to Barry Bonds, according to Baseball Almanac, Babe Ruth's statistics, he ended with a .342 batting average, 2,213 runs batted in, and 714 home runs. So those 3 statistics, when you're evaluating a player, there's many statistics, but those are the 3 main ones that you look at to see how they're performing offensively. That's not on the defensive side, that's only offensively. So if I were to evaluate someone, those were the 3 criteria that I would look at. And according to the official Major League Baseball website, Barry Bonds' statistics are as following. He has a .298 lifetime batting average, 1,996 runs batted in, and 762 home runs. So as you see, Babe Ruth has the advantage in 2 out of those 3 categories, but Barry Bonds does beat him in the home runs. And for someone to even beat someone, for Barry Bonds to beat someone as great as Babe Ruth in one of the 3 main statistics just shows how great he really was on the offensive side, but he doesn't get the credit I feel that he deserves. Another statistic that is just as big, if not more important than those 3 offensive statistics is WAR. WAR stands for wins above replacement, and it kind of like calculates everything like an overall player. And Babe Ruth's WAR is 162.1, while Barry Bonds, his WAR is 162.8. So what is WAR? As I said previously, WAR stands for wins above replacement, and according to Major League Baseball and their official website, the official definition is that it measures a player's value in all facets of the game by deciphering how many more wins he is worth than a replacement level player as his position. So basically, it just combines all the stats offensively and defensively to show how valuable a player is compared to other people at his same position, whether it's in the major league level or the minor league level. According to Baseball Reference, Babe Ruth has the 2nd highest WAR in history, as I said, 160.1, followed, and the only man to have a higher WAR than him and has the highest WAR in all of baseball history is Barry Bonds with 162.8. So if you're going by that statistic, technically Barry Bonds is the greatest overall player of all time, because no one has a higher WAR than him, and that is the statistics that calculates everything and anything that you do on a baseball field and combines it to get a total number, and no one has a higher score than he is. Also, if you look at the list of all-time wins above replacement scores, the next 13 individuals below Barry Bonds are all in the Hall of Fame, and he's the only one that hasn't been inducted yet. He's at the top of the list. So what is the steroid era? As you know, I do believe that Major League Baseball players who have been accused of performance-enhancing drugs, specifically Barry Bonds, should be inducted, but that does go by a case-by-case basis. Barry Bonds played in the steroid era, and according to ESPN, the steroid era refers to a period of time in MLB when a number of players were believed to have used performance-enhancing drugs, resulting in an increased offensive output throughout the game. This time period doesn't have a defined start or end time, but it's generally considered to have happened from the late 80s until the early 2000s. To this day, this steroid era is the biggest the biggest outbreak of the use of steroids in Major League Baseball history. And a lot of players, even if they didn't use steroids, just playing in that era tainted their legacy, which I believe is not fair. And I believe it's not fair to Barry Bonds because he played in this era and he excelled in this era. Yet he never failed a drug test, but still, just based on accusations, he is basically guilty until proven innocent. So some of the accused PED users that are now in the Hall of Fame, as I was stating earlier, the two that are now in the Hall of Fame are Jeff Bagwell and Ivan Rodriguez. They both played in the steroid era and never failed drug tests, just like Barry Bonds. They were accused throughout their entire careers, but never was there solid evidence against them. One of the things that was very suspicious with Ivan Rodriguez was once testing began to be implemented into the MLB, he just lost 30 pounds. Now, I get if he was overweight and he would have lost 30 pounds, but he was already shredded and ripped and had lots of lean muscle. And then once testing started, he just randomly lost 30 pounds of muscle weight. In an interview with ESPN, they asked him about this and about his steroid use, and he got upset with the question and kind of told them only God knows. So he kind of tried to avoid the questioning, and either way, both of those players, Barry Bonds has better stats throughout his career than both those players, yet both of them have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Barry Bonds has not. So this is why I believe that Barry Bonds should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I understand that many of his accusations throughout his career, and there's been a lot of speculation that he's used steroids because of different reasons, but at the end of the day, he has never failed a drug test, and he consistently ranks among the top in many different categories, yet I believe he doesn't get the respect he deserves, and this is why I believe that he should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Thank you, and I appreciate your time.